Busho here. Today I'm going to show you how to change transmission fluid on a 97 Honda Accord. The process is identical for Civics as well. So let's jack the car up to get to the drain plug. Now before you jack the car up, I'm going to go right down to the center front of the vehicle. Right here, this is your front tow hook. You want the cup of your jack to sit right on that. Right there. Now locked in place. Alright, slip in the jack stands. Right behind the front wheel, on the frame, you'll see there's a pinch weld right here. This is where you put the factory jack if you were to have a flat on the road. Just slide your stand right under there. You know, the little cut portion of the stand I have facing this way. So when the vehicle comes down, it sits in that little cradle area there. Just line that up there. Bring it up, make sure it's where it has to be. Pinch weld number 2 behind the other wheel. Just going to leave it that level, like the other side. Bring the vehicle down onto the stand slowly. I usually just leave the jack right up against that point right there, so as soon as I'm ready to bring the vehicle down, it's ready to go. The jack is not bearing the weight, it's just up against the jack point. Now in these Hondas, the transmission drain plug is on the passenger side, right behind the passenger front tire. And right behind the front passenger tire, behind the radius rod here, right up there is your transmission drain plug. It has a square head on it to fit your 3/8 inch socket. So we're going to break that loose and get the fluid out of there. You're just going to get your socket, put it on there, pull like mad. Okay, plan B. This isn't the first time I've had a problem with these Hondas removing this plug. Now, what you could do is you could use the socket and put a 3/4 inch pipe on the end and you'll get it loose. What I'm going to do is I have a 3/8 inch breaker bar. Just going to pop that on there. In my opinion, in a situation like this, a breaker bar is the best thing to use, but if you do have a socket wrench with a longer handle, you could give that a shot too. I have a strong suspicion that this has not been removed since the factory, so there it goes. All thanks to my friend Leverage. Now, if the fluid's changed regularly and the person who changed it didn't do anything stupid like tighten it down too much, it shouldn't be that difficult. My theory is it's been on there so long it's actually seized, and that's why it took so much to break it loose. I'm going to slide my drain pan there. I'm going to put my larger catch pan over that funnel. I'm just going to remove that plug. The larger catch pan you have, the better. Because when you take that plug out, it's not just going to shoot straight down, it's going to shoot a little bit out. So you want to make sure that you have enough coverage so you don't spill it all over the floor while you're trying to get your pan in place. course Honda made it so it splatters right over that radius rod. Alright, just going to let that do its thing. And we're going to take care of the end of this plug here. Now at the end of this plug is a magnet, and that catches magnetic particles, including friction material from the transmission. So you just want to clean that off with a rag. Clean that up. There we go.
While it's not required, I would highly recommend that you replace the aluminum crush washer, that part I'm taking off right there. If the old one isn't damaged, you can reuse it. Just make sure whether you reuse the old one or install a new one that you don't over tighten the drain plug and mushroom it out. If it mushrooms out, you could have a leak.
Alright, slide the new one on. We're good to go. Alright, that's pretty much done. It's just dribbling. Put the plug back in. Get my pan out of there now. Just gonna put my socket back on there. Get a few firm pushes. That's it. I'm done. Just clean it up. Alright, drop the vehicle back down and refill with new fluid. Now in these Hondas, you fill the transmission fluid through the dipstick hole. So as you can see, you go over here, right to the right of the battery. You see that yellow dipstick right down there. So the first thing we're going to do is the lower rad hose head is on this little clamp. We're going to push it off to the left, which will be made obvious in a minute why we're doing this. Okay. Then we're going to pull out the dipstick, and there's our fill hole right there. I'm using the standard funnel you can get at any auto parts store. Now Honda didn't make it too easy to get down there. That's why we moved the lower radiator hose. So what we're going to do is put it through here to the right of the lower rad hose. We're just going to stick it in there. And that's the only way I found to get a straight shot in there. I've tried every other way. So push the lower rad hose off its clip to the side, and then just stick your funnel in there. And just be sure to push it back onto that clip when you're finished. So just insert it right here, and it pushes right in. Now for your transmission fluid, I'd highly recommend Honda ATF Z1. This is the OEM fluid. I'm not one of those guys who uses all OEM Honda parts, but I found that the transmission just doesn't shift as smoothly, and it's very erratic if you use other fluids. So go to your dealer, pick up some Honda ATF Z1. After a fluid change, we've drained all the fluid out, you want to put 3 quarts. So dump 3 quarts in there.
You should be changing out your transmission fluid once every 30,000 miles. 3 quarts is the rule on many Hondas. You may read the service manual where it says 2.5 quarts during a fluid change, but don't worry about it. Remember, you're filling into the cross-hatched area on the dipstick, so you have a certain range to fall into, and 3 quarts will be well within that range. Do this every 30,000 miles and you'll be good. If you want to perform a flush, in other words, you want to remove all of the old fluid, Honda recommends changing the fluid 3 times. Change the fluid, drive a short distance, change the fluid again, drive a short distance again. Honda doesn't recommend having the transmission flushed by a machine, so only use the drain and refill method. With the vehicle and transmission warmed up but the engine off, the fluid should be in the cross-hatched area on the dipstick.
Pop the dipstick back down there. Pop the lower rad hose back into its clip. I warmed the vehicle up. You can see the transmission fluid level is a little low. You can see the fluid levels right there, just at the bottom of the crosshatch. So I'm going to add a bit more fluid, not that much.
While that fluid technically is in the crosshatched area, I'm going to add a bit more fluid. I did replace the radiator on this vehicle. When you do that, you lose some fluid in the tranny cooler on the old rad, and that's exactly where you want it to be, right in the middle. That's all there is to it.